You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, certified life coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm discussing ambition without guilt, releasing the fear of being too much. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, today we are talking about ambition without guilt and releasing the fear of being too much. But before we get into that, if you are listening in January, I want to start with this reminder. January doesn't actually need you to reinvent yourself. It doesn't need a sharper version of you. It doesn't need more discipline, more certainty, or any new impressive plans. How about if we think about January simply as asking a deeper question? Who are you willing to be this year without apology? Not who you become, but maybe more who you stop managing. January doesn't always feel like a fresh start, right? Especially at this point of the month. It might actually feel like pressure, especially if you are doing this work. And for a number of reasons. Number one, because there could be changes that are happening. Change is not always comfortable. Number two, you might be adding pressure to yourself, thinking that you need to be further along. So it's almost like this internal negotiation between who you feel yourself becoming and who you're afraid you might disappoint if you let yourself fully expand. That's what I mean when I talk about who are you managing. Because underneath all of that is this fear that many women don't say out loud. If I fully step into my power, it will cost someone else. So before we go anywhere today, I want to offer you a permission slip. Isn't it funny? We're always looking for permission, approval, things from other people. Here I am. I have a magic wand. I am waving it to you, and I am giving you the permission slip. Not a mindset shift, not a reframe just yet, not anything that you have to force. It's just a sentence to let your nervous system feel it is safe for me to expand. Just let that land. Many high-performing women are not afraid of success. We're afraid of the relational consequences of success. And that might sound like, well, if I take up more space, someone else will feel smaller. Or if I succeed, I'll create distance between us. Or if I want more, I need to justify it. I don't want to seem too greedy. Or I can have ambition, but I just don't want to seem like I'm too much. So instead of stepping forward cleanly, you over-explain your choices, maybe downplay your wins, delay decisions that you know that you're ready for, maybe even carry guilt alongside your desire to think that there has to be more to life. And here's what matters. This is not really personal insecurity. It's more like a generational loyalty. In many families, especially for women, success hasn't always been neutral. One person's growth might create tension. Maybe it highlights someone else's stagnation. Maybe it threatens emotional closeness, or maybe it even disrupts like an unspoken hierarchy in families. You know, it might sound like don't get too big for your britches type of thinking. So your nervous system learned the rule. If I grow too much, something might go wrong or someone else might lose out. And that rule maybe has kept you connected, but it does not have to dictate your future. Let's talk about why this fear can feel so real. Mirror neurons are the neurons that allow us to feel what others feel. They help us connect, they help us empathize, and sometimes we even say that they are what allows us to see in others what we have in ourselves. And so highly capable, emotionally intelligent women often have very sensitive mirror neuron systems, which basically means you're empathetic, right? You don't just notice discomfort, you often feel it. And here's where the confusion happens. Your nervous system doesn't always distinguish between someone else's discomfort and your responsibility. So when someone reacts to your growth with maybe withdrawal, maybe comparison, maybe irritation, maybe silence, maybe even subtle disapproval, your body interprets it as I've done something wrong. And without conscious choice, you shrink. Not because your power is harmful at all, but because your nervous system is trying to restore safety. We would rather be comfortable and safe, even if the comfort of living Groundhog's Day over and over and over is miserable. At least we're familiar with it. That is how the brain works. So here is a reframe, just for you to consider. Someone else's nervous system response doesn't mean you caused harm. Growth creates contrast, often. Contrast creates sensation. And a sensation does not mean that something has gone terribly wrong. You are allowed to be powerful and compassionate without needing to make yourself smaller. This is why we talk about how change is so uncomfortable, growth is discomfort. It's because oftentimes, unless the people around us are growing with us, there is this difference in the relationship. And it doesn't have to mean that anything has gone wrong. It simply means that change is around us. And I want to take a minute because I want to layer in something that fits just so beautifully with our January theme, and especially this week's podcast, the permission to be yourself. I love human design. I have talked about it here in the past. If you go to jovianarchive.com, I have no affiliation. It's just a great place where you can check out your human design. Now, you will need your date of birth, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with. Also, the time you were born and the location. And once you get your human design, then you can go crazy searching about what exactly it means. And you don't have to make yourself crazy with this, right? It's not a system that you have to master. In fact, I'm still learning about it all of the time because there are so many aspects to it. And it's not just a personality box. I truly feel like it is a permission slip to stop arguing with thinking that you need to be different. It is your permission slip to be yourself. It is your permission slip to know, like, hey, this is why I'm wired. I will tell you, it explains a lot about my craziness, right? At its core, human design doesn't ask you to become any better. It just says, this is how you work, and this is why. And for women who spend a lifetime adjusting themselves to maintain harmony, that recognition can be deeply reassuring. And I freaking love learning about all of it. There are, again, so many aspects. But you start by going to jovianarchive.com. I'll put that in the notes. Now, so many of us have been taught to override ourselves, to keep going even when we don't have the energy, to be available no matter what, to be agreeable even when we don't want to. Human design interrupts all of this by saying, you don't need to be different. You just need to be yourself. Because when you stop trying to be someone else's version of powerful, ambition feels like so much more fun. It becomes grounded. You feel rooted instead of reactive. And most importantly, you stop believing that your way of being needs justification. Because when you believe there's only one right way to succeed, difference feels dangerous. When you think everyone outside of you knows what success should look like for you, that is when we get in a pickle, my friends. We were just in a team meeting talking about this. All of us, listen to me, are in different points and seasons of our life. Success gets to look like whatever you want it to look like today. And when you understand that, power expresses itself differently in any season of your life. And leadership doesn't always have to look the same. And expansion is not competition. When you know that, your nervous system stops scanning the room for who you might be outgrowing. Human design is a great tool to help you get started in this, and it gives you space to separate identity from performance, worth from output, power from harm. So instead of asking, how do I succeed without upsetting anyone? The question becomes, how do I honor my design without abandoning myself? And that shift is everything. That will help you define what success is for you. So as we start to bring this to a close, let's just name the belief underneath all of this, okay? The old belief might be something like, if someone feels small, I've done something wrong. And this belief assumes that you're responsible for regulating other people's emotions, your success requires justification, and your visibility needs permission. Those are all false beliefs. And a new belief could be, I can be powerful and compassionate without shrinking myself. This allows you to gain clarity, and that is empowered self-trust, trusting your internal authority more than external approval. I'm going to say that again because this is so much of the work that I've been doing and that I want more of us to be doing as a collective. Trusting your internal authority more than external approval. And here is a simple practice for the month. Step 1, notice your shrink point. So where do you soften, delay, or over-explain? Just start by paying attention to it. Do you see a pattern? Maybe it's only in relation to your family, or maybe it's only in relation to your teammates. Just get curious. You want to start becoming aware so that you then have the agency to change what you want to. And it might also be helpful if you want to reflect, where have I learned to justify my ambition? Like, where did that come from? What would change if my growth didn't need everyone's approval? And we could even just bring it down to the basic foundational question of, how do I want to define success in this season of my life? Give yourself a minute to think about that. It gets to look however you want it to, this year, this month, this week, today. You get to decide. Okay, friends, take some time to do that work. And if this episode resonated, let it land before you do anything with it. And when you're ready, share it with someone else who might be afraid of also being too much. Think of all of the women out there who are shrinking instead of stepping into your power. The episode is not necessarily here to motivate you, but to normalize all of this. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. This year is going to be so much fun. It is just the beginning. And remember, your growth doesn't take from anyone else, and your expansion doesn't require permission from anyone else. It requires you to step into it, to believe it's possible, and to know that there is safety in that. Okay, that's what I have for you today. Let's meet back next week. But for now, be sure to lead with intention because it's your time. Make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.